My husband of 20 years slid into our son's 18-year-old girlfriend's DMs, but now I just found out that's not the only thing he's been sliding into. I, 41F, am a stay-at-home mom, and my husband, 48M, who I'll call Paul, works in finance. We have been married for nearly 20 years. We have 2 kids, Eric, our 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Mary, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the lights of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for a myriad of reasons, such as his work schedule and how I've aged poorly since we first met. Our son Eric has a girlfriend, 18F, whom he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. We'll call her Amy. Eric absolutely adores Amy. She's his first love, and she's someone I've always considered as family. This makes the whole situation that much more excruciating for me. Last week, I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Amy, our son's girlfriend, and I read what looked like a message of her telling him that she misses touching his manhood. I froze in place, in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I must have misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it because, over the last several days, I discovered a folder on his computer filled with tons of inappropriate intimate images. He clearly has a bleep addiction. He also has saved photos of Amy from her Instagram on his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed, it was still the proof I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. They were filled with mean, horrible things said at my expense, with him constantly comparing me to her. He would call me fat and old, among other things, with Amy giving laughing emojis. I've always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul has been cheating on me, but never in a million years could I have fathomed something like this. Last month, I found an intimate women's clothing in our bedroom that I know wasn't mine. I turned a blind eye to it, being naive and acting like it was maybe our daughter's, even though that made zero sense. Not only is he cheating on me, but he's betraying our son. I'm completely devastated. I don't even think words can adequately describe the dread, anger, and shock I feel right now. I'm totally overwhelmed on how to handle this because obviously action needs to be taken, but I'm terrified of what kind of psychic blow this will be for my son. I have no idea how to even broach this completely messed up topic with him. I wouldn't wish this predicament on my worst enemy. I can't even believe I married this scumbag in the first place. And then my mind started to race, realizing that I started noticing specifically unusual behavior from him around the same time Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to turn 18 before pursuing this affair? There are so many layers to all of this, and I'm completely paralyzed with fear and dread about it all. None of it makes any sense. How did this happen? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that I let all of this happen under my watch? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The impact on his young heart and mind could be devastating. My heart aches for Eric and Mary, who are completely innocent bystanders. I haven't confronted my husband about this because I'm frankly scared of the domino effect. I don't know who to turn to first about this. Please help, what should I do? Update 1. My brother connected me to a very tough junkyard dog-type lawyer. I saved screenshots of all his conversations with Amy, but I was only able to get the last 3 months from my cloud. The conversations were mostly flirty and dirty talk, it was hard to stomach, completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things said about me. His call history showed he talks with her for hours pretty consistently. He is also on the dating apps. I took screenshots of his profiles and all of the active chats he has with his matches. It's very clear he uses a filter to seek out girls who are 18 to 22 or so. I copied all of his files from the computer. He goes on intimate chat rooms and forums, and he spends a ton of money on purchasing adult content. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot I could think of in the house. He had various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, etc. He also had different outfits, which looked kind of like a girl's Catholic school uniform and a French-maid type outfit too. I picked up Eric and Mary from school, and we all drove to my brother's. They were able to sense something was awry when I picked them up. I delicately told them the entire situation, and I broke down crying. Mary had the most anger, even more than Eric. I met with Amy's mother and told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and gave me the entire chat log. It only dated back 3 months ago, like on my husband's cloud, almost as if they both deleted the messages at the same time. She told me Amy sobbed when confronted. Amy basically told her mother that she will never understand and that she and him are in love. I don't want to get into too many details with what else she was saying, but suffice to say, it's very easy to assume that my husband slowly and methodically became a sage-like figure in her life, making her feel she could rely on him, and he took advantage of the fact that she came from a broken home. Amy is also non-stop insistent that their friendship only became romantic and physical recently, and before that, she said he was more of a friend and mentor. I confronted Paul over Zoom. The look on his face was scary. He became red and looked so sweaty, he had anger and panic in his eyes. His tone of voice was very defensive and frightening, he kept yelling the word context over and over again and that none of that happened. He was unable to speak without constant stutters and intensity, nothing really made any sense to me. I refused to tell him where I was, and he said I had no right to take his kids away from him, and then he abruptly left the Zoom. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary, a restraining order. Mary is still the most angry. She's totally furious with her dad and Amy, justifiably so, of course. Mary is recollecting moments and times she watched her dad interact with her friends, and she's in knots about it. Eric is very clearly hurting, but he's so strong and very level-headed. He wants to see a therapist. The maturity my kids are showing makes me proud. They don't deserve this at all. We made the authorities aware of everything. I plan on being completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. I'm reflecting on how I've been treated and how it's made me a shell of myself, and how I've had a very negative opinion of myself because of him over the last 20 years. I don't want to let this scumbag get away with it. I want to reinvent myself and move on stronger than ever. Update 2. Thank you again for all the love and encouragement. It gives me comfort and means so much to me. I've been focusing on and worrying about how others are feeling over this, somewhat ignoring my own feelings, which I'm trying to change. I range from anger to numbness like a light switch. We're all safe and still at my brother's house. We're very careful, and his house is secured. Paul has tried to call my cell phone several times a day. I'm refusing to interact with him, and I will have my lawyer handle all correspondence. He scares me, frankly. My brother has a very secure house with an alarm system and bolted locks. We feel safe with him. Both my son and I got checked out and tested. It appears so far that we're both clean based on the immediate rapid tests, but in the coming days, we'll know for certain when the lab results come in. I'm not overly concerned. Eric is scheduled to see a therapist early next week, which is very good and needed. He's not himself right now. He seems a bit shell-shocked, and I am concerned. He internalizes a lot, and it's hard to get a read on what's going on in his head. That being said, he's thoughtful and has been talking with me, asking me how I'm doing and everything. He's not interested in corresponding with his dad at all. He calls only my cell phone, and he hasn't tried to reach out to either Eric or Mary. I get the sense that Paul is extremely nervous. He's scared, and I think he deep down knows that if investigated thoroughly, he would be in big trouble. That's what my gut is telling me. I still think about the Zoom call with him, and the more I think about it, the more it looked like he was a man whose entire world was crashing down on him. The panic in his face was very apparent. I offered Mary to make an appointment with a therapist as well, but she doesn't want to see one yet. She said she's open to it eventually but wants time to herself. She's been asking her friends about her dad and if they experienced any creepiness from him. Her friends were open and honest with her, and apparently, they felt like he stared a lot and sensed his hovering presence whenever they were over. One of Mary's friends went so far as to say that she felt like he was checking her out a lot, like looking at her rear and complimenting the color of her yoga pants. At the time, no issue was brought up about it, but in light of everything that has been happening, it seems strange now. He would sit himself in different areas or vantage points to get a good view of her, she claimed. He also asked questions about what kind of friend group or which clique they were in at school. He kept asking about if they were popular girls. I'm completely embarrassed that they had this experience at our house. As for updates on Amy, which is the main reason why I wanted to write this update, I completely agree that she is also a victim. A lot of people have been emphasizing that, and I agree. I've done everything I could in my own power to indirectly get her opportunities to get help. Like I said, I told her mother, and she's been updating me on everything. Amy, unfortunately, is still living in her deluded reality, and I can only pray that she'll eventually come to her senses. She doesn't want to see any doctors or therapists at all and has been constantly trying to reach Paul because, again, she believes that they are in love. From what I've been told, she hasn't been able to get hold of him, and he's been avoiding communication with her completely. Amy blames me for that and believes I took away his devices and am very controlling. Any truth that her mother tries to convey to her is met with conspiracy theories and hostility. Amy looks at me as a villain and still sees Paul through rose-colored glasses. Her mother showed her screenshots of his dating app profiles and matches, and she refuses to believe it, saying I photoshopped it. According to her mom, Amy keeps saying things like everyone is just mad because she found herself a real man and that I'm jealous because she takes better care of him than I do. It's in line with some of the conversations I screenshot, where a lot of what Paul says is him complaining about things I don't do for him intimately. Right now, she's insistent that she and Paul will be together in the long run. Completely disgusting, he's honestly a slimeball. I can only hope that Amy comes to her senses, but me directly intervening doesn't feel like it would be productive at the moment, maybe eventually though.
Buckle up because this family drama is about to get wild. So picture this. A husband of 2 decades decides to slide into his son's girlfriend's DMs. How disgusting. Honestly, I wouldn't allow this kind of disrespect, but wait, that's not the whole story. The husband also did it with her. I would have divorced the husband. It's crazy what times we live in now.
My wife tried to make me pick between my mother and the birth of our baby, and now she's kicked me out because I didn't put her first. So my wife, 33F, and I, 36M, are expecting our first child soon. My mother, who is 70, has been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and has been hospitalized since it is so severe. Doctors say she will not survive since treatments aren't working well for her. My dad passed away when I was really young, and my mom took care of me while working 2 jobs so that I could have a good life. I feel I owe everything to my mother, and I bought her a house and whatever she needed so that she could live her older years well since we had to struggle so much. Well, when I got home from work and visiting my mom, my wife and I were talking, and she asked, if you got a call that I was in labor or your mom only had minutes left, who would you pick? I told her I would pick my mom. She asked why, and I explained that I wanted to be there to say goodbye to my mom since I would never see her again, and so she would have somebody there in her final moments. She got mad and said, what about me and our baby? I told her I would try to be there as fast as I could after my mom, but that most likely wouldn't happen, so I told her not to worry about it. She was still mad and told me to get out of the house. I left, and now I'm at my mom's house. I don't feel like I had a winning answer. Was I supposed to lie to a hypothetical question? Edit. I keep getting the same question about why I left my house. Even though I may own the house, it was late, and I didn't want my pregnant wife out late at night. She told me to leave, so I knew it was either me or her, and I didn't want it to be her. Yes, I have taken off work to comfort and help her in any way she needs during this pregnancy, and I do not put her second. To everyone saying that I would be leaving her alone, no, I wouldn't. She would have her mom there. She has said she wanted her mom there with her in delivery. And lastly, my mother is still at the hospital. No one is living in her house at the moment. Update 1. So, I went back home yesterday afternoon. She wasn't there, and I assumed she was at her mom's house. She came back in the evening, and we had a talk about what happened. She did apologize for asking the question, and she said that when she thought about it, she understood my answer because she would do the same. I asked her why she asked, and she said she didn't know and thought I was going to pick her since I normally do. I kinda just said okay and moved on. I did tell her I want marriage counseling after or even before the baby is born. She asked why, so I told her how I felt, and she denied it and wanted proof. Then she started crying and got mad and told me to sleep in the guest room instead of kicking me out, so I guess I got a win there. Anyways, she also told me that she no longer wanted me in the delivery, which I was fine with. I understand to an extent where it's coming from. Thanks for the advice y'all gave, some good and bad advice, and sorry if my comments came off as mean. Update 2. Hello everyone, this will probably be my last and final update. I've read a lot of your comments, and I did apologize, not for bringing up marriage counseling, but for the timing I brought it up, and that I did show her proof. She forgave me and told me I was still not going to be at the birth of our child. I said to her that it was okay and that I had accepted it, and I wasn't going to fight her on her choice. I did tell her that I think she and I both need some space before the baby comes, to which she agreed. I told her I would leave, and that she could have the house, and that if she needed anything, to call or text me. No, I'm not at my mother's house. I'm at a friend's house. He doesn't live there anymore, but he usually rents it out. To all of you asking why I don't kick her out, it's because I'm the only person who makes money in the house, and I know especially now, if I kick her out, it will be called financial, emotional manipulation, or even abuse. So it's better a lot of times if I leave. Yes, I do plan to go back home when the baby is born, and to someone who asked, I do plan to take paternity leave. No, she does not know where I'm at. She didn't ask, so I didn't tell, mainly because her family would be knocking on my door. To people who I know are going to ask why I'm not fighting harder to be in the delivery room, I've learned that some things I cannot control, and one thing is people. If she doesn't want me in there, I won't be. My main example is if I had gotten someone pregnant in my 20s, and I said to delete the fetus, just because it's my baby as well doesn't mean that I can control what she does. So it's her body, her choice. About the divorce thing, I do care if she divorces me. I do love her, but I cannot control how she feels. So personally, I won't beg her not to. I will suggest that we get help, but if she doesn't want to, then that's fine. I'm secure. What I mean by that is she will get nothing in the divorce. Does she know that? I don't know. Update 3. Hello everyone, I have good and bad news. So, I will start with the good news. My wife had the baby on January 26th. It's a girl, and I love her so much. I wanted to name her after my mother, but we found a compromise, and her middle name is my mother's name. To address the questions I'm going to get about whether I was in the delivery room, I was not. I did ask, but I got a no, and she said she had already told her sister. It was fine, because by then, I had stopped caring a lot. The bad news is my mother has passed. She went a week before my baby was born. A decent number of her friends came to the funeral. If you go back up a sentence, I said I had stopped caring a lot. She didn't come to the funeral, she made stupid excuses, and I just said forget it. It was nice, though I am mad that she wasn't there when I needed her. So, I haven't been talking to her much so I won't yell at her. We talk about the baby and her, and other than that, we don't talk. I'll bring up marriage counseling in a few weeks, but for now, I'm going to enjoy my baby and love her.
Okay, let's talk about a relationship on the rocks. Picture this, a wife picking fights, a husband emotionally checking out. Now, throw in a missed funeral. Yep, you heard that right. She skipped her partner's parents' funeral. Talk about a red flag. It's like she's waving a giant I don't care banner. Now, we could blame hormones or stress, but let's be real, that's a weak excuse. This relationship, it's like a sandwich with no filling, empty and unsatisfying. The love's gone, folks. It's just two people sharing a house, not a life. Remember, a partner who doesn't show up for the big moments, that's not a partner, that's a roommate, and a pretty bad one at that. So, what do you think? Is this a fixable situation, or is it time to call it quits?